It starts off with workforce planning, and here's the theory. If we know from a staffing talent acquisition perspective where, when, and how many people we're going to need, the advantages that we have at acting proactively, acting correctly, acting strategically, acting efficiently are enormous. So the first plank, if you will, and the foundation of a talent acquisition and talent management strategy we preach and we teach should be workforce planning. Now, interestingly enough, most companies in America don't do workforce planning. Most companies in America don't even address it. You know, they may sit at the bar, sit around a desk on a Friday afternoon saying, hey, Mary, hey, Sue, hey, Joe, how many people are you going to need next year? But it's not strategic. It's not scientific by any stretch of the imaginations, and it really may give some idea of the horizon, but it doesn't look at it from a scientific or a strategic perspective. So the first plank in the platform is workforce planning. So if we understand where, when, and how many people we're going to need, what does that do to our strategy? What does that do to our ability to act the right way? The second level is candidate profiling. So now that we understand where, when, and how many people we're going to need, who do we need? What's the profile? What's the competency? What's the hard skill? What's the soft skill? This comes through the process of benchmarking, profiling, and the work of science in regards to IO psychology. So it's really understanding every position in the company, what the hard skill competencies are, what the soft skill competencies are, and basically how that person fits into the organization. The whole goal of IO psychology is predicting somebody's success in that job. Is if we can understand where, when, and how many people we need, and we can understand who we need, and all of that is locked down in a strategic and a scientific, what kind of advantages does that give us as the beginning part of a talent acquisition strategy? Thirdly of all, now that we understand where, when, and how many from workforce planning, and who from the profiling and benchmarking strategy, how do we speak to those people? What is our corporate culture? Or in other words, what is our employment brand? How does that employment brand differentiate or compete with others that are looking for same or similar types of positions or skill sets? And again, this is a very strategic, a very scientific process that delves into the core culture, the core fabric of a company to really come to an understanding about what that experience in that organization is. Again, through workforce planning, where, when, and how many, through profiling who, through employment branding, how do we speak to them? Now we're ready to go to the market and source the candidates. So the question becomes, how do we do that? What is our approach to sourcing? How do we define sourcing? How do we strategically go out to the market consistently, over time, where and when we need it, to make sure that we're accessing all of those candidates or potential candidates that have the skill and background that we're looking for within the defined geographical market. Too often, our strategy is driven by imperatives, is driven by frustration, is driven by rapid response, is driven by lack of planning, lack of education. And most companies in America don't source the candidates the right way. As a matter of fact, most companies in America don't bring all of the right people or most of the right people to the table, thereby hiring who? The wrong ones, or the ones that aren't as good or aren't as qualified or aren't as right for the company because they haven't surfaced them. So there's a whole series of considerations when you look at the screening process and then at the assessment process. Screening is looking at the hard skills, assessing is looking at the soft skills. When the recruiter or the person from the HR function gets involved with that candidate, what's their role? What's their responsibility? What funnel are they taking that candidate down through? So again, that next step is screening and assessment, bringing that candidate through some kind of funnel. Maybe it's an online funnel, technology funnel, people funnel through the involvement of HR. Now we move to selection. Now we've weeded down our candidate pool down to those 3 or 4 or 7 or 12 or 15 or 20 or 200 or 300 people that are qualified and interested based on the process we brought in. What's the selection process? So what's the candidate experience from every step after they leave screening and assessment through to selection? What's every step that they go through? All of that should be choreographed, if you will. The entire experience should be choreographed, should be laid out, and there should be a methodology to how we do that. Next step after selection is retention. Now we've hired the people. How do we keep them? The best recruiting strategy, the best talent acquisition strategy is a talent management strategy. The better and longer we keep the people and grow the people, the less we're going to have to worry about recruiting, which is painful. So what does onboarding look like? What does orientation look like? What does 30, 60, 90-day employee reviews look like? What does mentoring look like and training look like? What does career pathing look like and career development? What does exit interview strategies look like? Comp benefits, total reward strategies, leadership development strategies, time and workplace studies strategies. I mean, all of these are components that add up to gaining a better understanding of what we're doing after we hire somebody to keep them engaged, to make sure they're part of the organization, to make sure they're fully functional and fully utilized. The last component, the final component, is technology. What kind of foundation do we have from a technology perspective? HRIS, ATS, time and attendance, background checks, whatever the case may be, to make as much of that process automated so that the people that have the least amount of time to worry about these things, HR, is spent really focusing on the important elements, the people elements of the process. So when you put all this, the pieces of this puzzle together, it's very akin to a Six Sigma or Lean or Kaizen operation. It's all about process. It's all about doing the right things, memorializing those things, putting them into play, and then managing them over time. It works. You look at any organization that spends time on any one of these elements, and it adds incremental value and incremental success to the end result of what talent acquisition and talent management is responsible for. The people in our company are the most important assets we have. Without the people we have, there are no companies. So how important is this process to your organization from an HR perspective, but also from a business perspective as well? It's mission critical, especially in the times and days that we live in right now.